Okay, I guess we can begin the Fabrengen. So the Rebbe every year would Fabreng on Vav Tishri, which was his mother's Yahrtzeit. So this is the first Sikha of a Fabrengen that the Rebbe did in Tafshin Lamed Gimel, 1972. This was also a Thursday night, the same Kviyas. It was Shabbos Parshas Hazinu, but it wasn't Parshas. It was the week of Parshas Hazinu. It was Vav Tishrei, Matzoi Vav Tishrei. And over here, the Rebbe in this Sikha, it's
after
not
1 year. This is the Yahrtzeit.
Huh?
After 1 year.
No, this is not after 1 year. This is Lamed Gimel. The Yahrtzeit, she was Nifter in Tafshin Chafei. This was like 8 years later. But I'm saying, ever since then, the Rebbe would Fabreng every Vav Tishrei because of his mother's Yahrtzeit. So the Rebbe over here does something amazing. You know, in the world, Aseres Yemay Teshuvah is a very serious time, and it is supposed to be a serious time, and that's all they see. All they see is the seriousness of it. And the Rebbe over here in the Sikha takes, it's not a Mugadik Sikha, it's the first part of the Fabrengen that the Rebbe did on that Vav Tishrei in that year. And he discusses how Aseres Yemay Teshuvah is like Chol Hamo'ed. And just like Chol Hamo'ed is the days in the middle of Yom Tov, even though you're allowed to go to work, technically, and so on, even certain work you're not allowed to do, but it's essentially part of Yom Tov, so it's days of Simcha. So on the one hand, it's elevated days, it's Chol Hamo'ed, it's part of Mo'ed, but it's still at times of Simcha. So the Rebbe brings, and he's going to discuss about his proof, that the days from Rosh Hashana to Yom Kippur, he's going to bring from the Siddur of the Arizal that it's considered Chol Hamo'ed. And the Rebbe is going to say, even though it seems to be the point that the Siddur of the Arizal is trying to make, is that it's a special time when we have to devote ourselves to learning Torah, the time of Aseres Yemay Teshuvah. It's a special time to be alone with Hashem. It's a special time for Teshuvah. But the fact that he inserted the concept of Chol Hamo'ed, he didn't have to bring in Chol Hamo'ed. And the fact that he brings in the concept of Chol Hamo'ed comes to teach us the special simcha that there is, not just on Rosh Hashana and Yom Kippur, but also the days in between, the days now between Rosh Hashana and Yom Kippur, the 7 days between them. So, and the Rebbe is going to elaborate upon it and show, this is also in other communities, they say slichas during Aseres Yemay Teshuvah in the morning. We don't. This is perhaps connected to that as well, because it's an elevated time, but in a joyous way, in a happy way. Let's see it inside. Obviously, Rosh Hashana and Yom Kippur is special. You don't need a special explanation about how special Rosh Hashana and Yom Kippur is. But even the 7 days between Rosh Hashana and Yom Kippur, which might not seem so extra special, still in all, how they are different, they are unique. Mimei kol Hashana kulam, yesh kama biyurim bekama sfarim, heim ben nigla, v'heim ben nister b'pnimis ha'torah, b'negeya li'inyanam shel yomim elu. And there's many things, even the Rebbe in the Sichas and the Mamarim brings down many ideas about how special Aseres Yemay Teshuvah is. The Rebbe is going to focus on something that I haven't seen the Rebbe focus in other places before, this idea of it being like Chol Hamo'ed. Ve'echad mehem hu amuva b'siddur ha'arizal. There is the Alter Rebbe Siddur that we know, that we daven out of, that's based on the Nusach of the Arizal. But the Arizal himself has a Siddur with Kavanas and different teachings in it. And in this Siddur, it speaks about, like I'm already telling you, giving you in advance, that it speaks about how the days of Aseres Yemay Teshuvah are like Chol Hamo'ed. So right away, the Rebbe in the next 2 paragraphs, 3 paragraphs actually, is going to explain, as soon as you hear the word Arizal, you start thinking, Kabbalah, this is not meant for people like us, it's meant for Mekubalim or people that study Kabbalah. Why does this have to do with me? So now the next 3 paragraphs, the Rebbe is going to explain how it has to do with us, based on a few sentences that we haven't yet learned. Siddur Daike. First of all, it's called the Siddur of the Arizal. Even though it does have different kavanas that are seemingly not applicable for an ordinary person. When you deal with different kavanas that there is in Kabbalah and davening, it's not something that we could say everybody has to do with the kavanas Arizal. How do we see this? Shalachein lo yehevi Rabbeinu Azakim b'sidurei es kol ha'inyanim v'alach kam v'kam inyan kavanas shenemru b'siddur Arizal. The Alter Rebbe did not bring in the siddur all the topics, and especially not the kavanas that are brought down the siddur Arizal, because the Alter Rebbe tried to make his siddur the most equal and applicable to all, to any type of person. So therefore, he toned down and he left out a lot of the kavanas and other things that are in the siddur of the Arizal. So even though the Alter Rebbe did that, but the very fact that we call it a siddur, hareze b'chol zay siddur, v'loikim ma'ishar kisvei Arizal she'enam shayachim l'chol elu she'esh lam shayches l'siddur Arizal. The Arizal has many different writings. Not that he himself wrote, Reb Chaim Vital wrote down. When we say Siddur Arizal, Siddur is more applicable to everybody than other writings of the Arizal. How come? When you're talking about the Arizal, was written down different ideas and different Torahs and different concepts in Kabbalah. What is it? It's something that you learn. Kabbalah is meant to be learned, including the Kabbalah's Arizal, are ideas that you're supposed to learn. And when it comes to learning, not everybody can learn the same thing. Especially not everybody is holding by a level of learning Kabbalah's Arizal. Ilu Siddur Arizal, this is brought down the Arizal Siddur, what we're going to talk about. Hu inyan shel tefillah. V'lachein afilu mishein shayach l'shakla v'tari shebalimud. He's not, the whole idea of the give and take of the limud HaKabbalah doesn't apply by him. V'yicholtei leida ketzad lihispal al pikisvei Arizal. So even though he never learned what says in Kisvei Arizal, and he's not even capable of learning what it says in Kisvei Arizal, but the Siddur distills it. The Siddur gives out and takes out like a tamtzis or a maskonus advarim, so it will be applicable even for those that cannot learn the Kisvei Arizal. Another thing that Rebbe adds, how much this is applicable to everybody. Again, what we're going to learn, we still haven't yet quoted what it says in the Siddur Arizal, but what we're going to learn is that it says over there that this is what the one who authored the Sefer Reiches Chochma said in the name of the Ramak, Ramoshe Kudurevo, a certain Mekubal. Move on from the fact that he quotes the Reiches Chochma. It's understood Shezeu Davar Hashava Loirak Avur Mekubalim Oy Elum Shemixpalim Al Pisida Arizal Shari Reiches Chochma Hu Sefer Shenokel Yoiser Lelamdei Ba'avona V'Asag Masher Stam Kisvei Arizal. Reiches Chochma is a Sefer that is a Musar Sefer, but not a Musar Sefer, but later Musar's form. It's a Musar Sefer that's based on a lot of limudim of Kabbalah, but it's not deep ideas. It's not like studying Kabbalah, but it's based on Kabbalah. But it's applicable to many people, and many people study Reiches Chochma even though they might not study Kabbalah. Again, what we're going to learn, we still don't know what he's referring to. But he also says that Rabbeinu Yoina was a Rishon that wrote a sefer called Shari Teshuvah. And a lot of people learn the sefer, especially when it comes this time of year, called the Shari Teshuvah Rabbeinu Yoina. So again, this is also shows about how this is something that's applicable to many people. Which is again, a lot more people that are shaykh to learn Kabbalah are shaykh to Rabbeinu Yoina and shaykh to Reiches Chochma. So if you take this all together, the Rebbe is going to say in the next paragraph, the fact that it's a siddur, The fact that this is brought from the Reishis Chochmah, the fact that this is also brought on in the Rabbeinu Yoina, this shows it's not just like some special type of group of people that it's meant for, but it's applicable to a big amount of people. Ella she'inyan she'nama b'Reishis Chochmah v'vad yicholim lachshiv she'shayich rak le'elu ha'shayachim lo'irachayim al pi Reishis Chochmah. Inyan shakos Rabbeinu Yoina zal b'vad shayich rak le'elu she'esh lam shaychos al sifrei Rabbeinu Yoina zal. If he would only bring Reishis Chochmah or only bring Rabbeinu Yoina, we'd think, I don't learn Shari Teshuvah, so this doesn't have a shaykhs with me. Or someone else say, I don't learn Reishis Chochmah. V'kivin shebesidra arizal metzaref shneim b'yachad, harei maskonas hadvarim hi, shehein elu sheyesh lam shaychos lelimud v'anhag al pi sifrei Rabbeinu Yoina zal. Hein elu sheyesh lam shaychos lelimud v'anhag al pi Reishis Chochmah, v'aramak, v'hein elu sheyesh lam shaychos lelimud v'anhag al pi arizal hinetzel kulam yesh nekuda ashava b'negel in yom shiyam elu. So what is it? Still, in all this time, we haven't said yet what we're talking about. The zel l'shoynei. All it is 3 lines. Kasav bal Reishis Chochmah b'shem haramak zal ki hayomim shbein Rosh Hashana v'yom Kippurim hem k'moy Chol Hamo'ed v'asurim b'melacha rak be'esek ha-Torah v'ha-Teshuvah v'ha-Izbodedus v'chein kasav Rav Rabbeinu Yoina zal. Now, it doesn't mean literally asurim b'melacha. We're talking here someone that's looking for holiness and so on, it's asur b'melacha. But the Rebbe is going to emphasize, he doesn't start off with not doing melacha. He doesn't start off with his boidedus or tshuva or Torah. He starts off with a general statement, it's called Chol Hamo'ed. Why bring in this idea like Chol Hamo'ed? What's he trying to teach us with this Chol Hamo'ed? Everything is exact in Torah Shebal Peh. When in Torah Shebal Peh, there's a discussion. And it's a back and forth. And then there is the sum total. The Kudus HaTamtzis, there's what comes, the Maskonos Advarim. Obviously, if anything you could be the most medayikin, that would be the Maskana of it. Valachas kam v'kam b'negel l'siddur, like we said before, a siddur was specially arranged. Why is it called a siddur? It's arranged to be able to know exactly what and how to daven. That's why it's called siddur. Siddur shvachim shel malkim. Should have it arranged and set up. So yesh l'daik being an anal, im akavoni rak loim. Should be yomim elu ein lask memlach kim b'toyra v'tshuva yizbadus v'chulum hayayachol loim rak teves elu. Aval kan moise b'toyra agdama sha'ayomim hem k'moy Chol Hamo'ed. So the Rebbe right away says, we need to know what causes what. It's the kedusha of Chol Hamo'ed that because of that we're not supposed to do certain types of malacha in Chol Hamo'ed. Not the other way around. It's not because of the certain types of malacha that we don't do that Chol Hamo'ed becomes Chol Hamo'ed. Ubenegel Chol Hamo'ed ma she'ein shayach lemalacha. Ubemeila nitvased b'chiyuv the Torah and Mitzvos b'tefillah yosem mishar kol yom. It's brought down Shulchan Aruch that in Chol Hamo'ed we need to be learning more than you would do on a regular weekday. And our davening, obviously, is more so. We have Musaf, we have Halal, and so on. Hareza mesuvav minyana shel Chol Hamo'ed. Because it's Chol Hamo'ed, that's why you learn more Torah, that's why you're not supposed to do so much malacha, and so on. Ukamay be Yom Tov. Let's look at Yom Tov itself. Yom Tov itself, we have more davening. We have more learning. But do you say that it's Yom Tov because we have more davening, more learning? Or because it's Yom Tov, that's why you have more davening, more learning? She'isur b'melacha eina b'glal sheyesh b'chiyuv laharbes b'toyra ela seder u'hafchi. Kivun shu Yom Tov u'makodesh mikra kodesh lachein yesh b'yat sivui kol melacha lo ya'asa b'hem. Chutz v'melacha zoichol nefesh. On Yom Tov there's the exception. If it's a melacha needed for food preparation, so you're allowed to do it on Yom Tov. Val derech ze benegel l'chol hamoed shu chelik ma Yom Tov. Afal pi shloi namer by mikra kodesh even though it doesn't actually say Mikra Kodesh, only by Yom Tov itself, El Shekarui, there's a printing mistake over here. It's supposed to say El Shekarui Mikra Kodesh, not Mikdash Kodesh. B'chagiga in Karbon is Bolvad. In Mesach Chagiga we see that it is called Mikra Kodesh also, Chol Hamo'ed. Mashakasa Rabbeinu Hazak in Shulchan Aruch Ba'agod, the Alter Rebbe brings us down in Shulchan Aruch. Va'ad to such a degree is the Chol Hamo'ed different than an ordinary weekday. There's the Alter Rebbe brings down Shulchan Aruch that every day of Chol Hamo'ed a person should drink at least a revius yain. Why? Because we know ain't simcha el b'basar, ain't simcha el b'yain. So we should in Chol Hamo'ed. How do we increase simcha? We increase through drinking extra wine. She mitzvahs esum Torah gam b'Chol Hamo'ed to be besimcha is not just talking about the first 2 days and the last 2 days Yom Tov. It's talking about the days of Chol Hamo'ed. Mitzad zeh bo hamaskana hamesuvah b'negel l'shlilus malacha afal pi she'isra malacha einu chomer kol kach Yom Tov. On Chol Hamo'ed there is a lot more leniencies concerning doing malacha. Therefore, you have to increase in Torah. So the point that he's trying to say is, Chol Hamo'ed is a Yom Tov, and because of that, everything else comes out. That it says in the Siddur Arizah. Kiven shayomim shebei Rosh Hashana v'Yom Kippurim en k'may Chol Hamo'ed, hine kishem shechol Hamo'ed yesh le Yom Tov b'shlei musay. What is a Chol Hamo'ed? Chol Hamo'ed is bookended, like they say in English. Chol Hamo'ed Sukkos has the first 2 days Sukkos and has Shmini Atzeres at the end. Chol Hamo'ed Pesach has the first 2 days Pesach at the beginning and the last 2 days Pesach at the end. So that's the idea of what Chol Hamo'ed is. It's surrounded by complete Yom Tov by each side. The 7 days of Aseres Yemay Teshuvah, sheyesh lefneihem Yemay Rosh Hashana on one end, shaleim namar chedvas havayi mu'uzchem. It says that Ezra told the Yidden who came back from Golus Bavel, it says in Sefer Nehemiah, and it says over there that they were a little bit sad about them not knowing how they're supposed to act. So Ezra told them, go home and eat and drink, because chedvas Hashem imu'uzchem. That the Yom Kippur following the 7 days of Aseres Yemay Teshuvah is also a full-fledged Yom Tov that's completely Simcha. That the Siddur Arizal brings down, Shlilus inyan hamalacha v'yisafa b'ribuy v'toyra v'yizbadudus v'chul. And then the Rebbe says, this helps us understand the entire idea of what's going on at this particular time. We do not, let's say, on Avinu Malkeinu on Rosh Hashana, we leave out the first part, right? It says Avinu Malkeinu Chotonu F'necha. We only say that during Aseres Yemay Teshuvah. We don't say it on Rosh Hashana, because we're not supposed to mention anything openly about Chet on Rosh Hashana. Why? Vatam b'pashtus kivushu yom simcha ka'amar chedus Hashem imu'uzchem v'lechein mevarchem shechiyanu. Therefore, it doesn't make any sense to mention chatoim on a day of simcha. So the Rebbe is going to mention, but it's not completely simcha, because we see certain halachas, and it came out this year, by Kabbalah Shabbos, by L'chodoidi, by Boy V'Shalom. We didn't say when Besimcha, exactly. Usually when Yom Tov and Shabbos come together, so then when we say Boy V'Shalom, we'll say over there, instead of Berina of Tzala, we'll say Besimcha of Tzala. When Rosh Hashana came out on Shabbos this time, we didn't say Besimcha of Tzala, we said Berina. Let's see it inside. Right now, let's see. V'af b'shemetzinu b'negel l'kamadinim she'Rosh Hashana ein inyan shel simcha ועד לדוגמה בנגיע לפיד לחדוידי בראשון שחל בשבס. שאוימים ברינה וצהלה ולא כביום טוב בשמחה. Why? Because, like we just now said, it's not a full simcha like a regular Yom Tov on Rosh Hashana. It's maybe not like the simcha of a Yom Tov, like Sukkot or Pesach or even Shavuos, but there is simcha in it. The Alter Rebbe explains that the phrase, the pasuk says, Gilu berada, it's a stira, it's a contradiction. Either it's Gila, which is Simcha, or it's Ra'ada, which means trembling. You're scared. What's it mean, Gilu berada? So the Alter Rebbe explains, Hainu shetzarech liyas inyan de Gilu. El shezeh mechusa be'inyan hara'ada, b'pnimius hareza inyan shel Gila. An example for this is, we say that our Rosh Hashanah is the time of Aseres Hamelech. It's when we make the king a king. And we know that when there's Aseres Hamelech, we're supposed to show great bittul before the king, and we're supposed to act in an unbelievable respect. But at the very same time, it's a very happy occasion. It's a very joyous occasion. It's something that causes the person to be with great simcha. But Lapoil, he's standing in front of the king. He can't be jumping up and down and dancing. So the simcha is covered over by the other. So the same thing as our Rosh Hashanah. It's the time of Aseres HaMelech, HaMamlech HaMelachim, Machusah B'ratzin Kibla Aleim. So we have Ra'ada B'chtzonius, but inside we're so happy to be able to have this connection with Hashem, to be able to make him king. So the Rebbe concludes, but the problem is, why? All he said is, he brought proofs from Ezra and so on, that you have to be Besimcha. But the question is, why and how? A Yid looks at himself and says, there are things that I messed up. And Rosh Hashanah is the Yom Adin. How am I going to be Besimcha? Now, you could say, you got to fake it, for whatever reason, you got to act happy. But he says, no. Torah does not play games. Torah is a Torah of truth. So how can he truly feel happy if there's things that he might have messed up over throughout the year? The Rebbe is essentially going to say that during the entire month of El, 29 days, we took care of all these things that will prevent us from being Besimcha. And therefore, when Rosh Hashanah comes, now we're ready for being totally happy. We don't have to worry anymore about anything that we did wrong. 29 days, 30 days, a whole month. It says by Aseres Yifas Toyar that she shall cry for her father and her mother a month of days. Mefarish Arizal Kemovable to the Torah. Shekoy al Chodesh El. It's going on the month of El. The Neshama is called the Aseres Yifas Toyar. The Neshama cries for her parents during the month of El. Hachel Merish Chodesh El Shaboy Maschal Azikaron Al Arboim Yom Hashlishim Shay Moshe Rabbeinu Bahar. That we know that Moshe Rabbeinu was on Har Sinai 3 times 40 days. He was on Har Sinai the first 40 days to get the luchas. Then he broke the luchas Shavos B'Tammuz. He was another 40 days begging Hashem not to Chas V'Sholom destroy the Yidden. And then the last 40 days is from Rosh Chodesh Elul till Yom Kippur. Aleim Nemar, concerning the last set of 40 days, it says, Ma Rishonim Berotz, Na'af Achronim Berotz. Kivon, Shaydei, Havoide Shal Chodesh El, Mizbatlim, Kolin, Yonim Shal Chet, V'chulum. Therefore, Hari Muvin, Shem Makim L'haske Berosh, Shani Shal Chet. Because we took care of it already. It's gone. Ki Kvar Be'erev Rosh Hashanah, Nifal, Inyan, Amechilo, B'slicha, V'kapara, B'shleimus, B'tachlis. And then the Rebbe adds, that year was the same kviyas, like I mentioned, like this year. Rosh Hashanah was on Shabbos. Ubefrat b'Rosh Hashanah shechalis b'Shabbos. She'oz ein tzarech afilu levakish ha'makoshes sheba'miras avinu makenu. B'chlal, it comes out on Shabbos Rosh Hashana, as we noticed, we didn't say Avinu Malkeinu at all, because we don't have to ask all the things of Avinu Malkeinu. Kivin sh'nifolim mitzad inyan Shabbos. Shabbos already takes care of all the things that normally we would ask for in Avinu Malkeinu. Shabbos takes care of it automatically. Kemoya inyan shel Tkiyas Shofar. Just like Tkiyas Shofar, we say that when Rosh Hashanah comes out on Shabbos, it's not that we're missing Tkiyas Shofar, but whatever Tkiyas Shofar had to accomplish, Shabbos accomplishes automatically. The same thing, all the bakashas in Avinu Malkeinu that we don't say on Rosh Hashanah comes out on Shabbos, Shabbos automatically accomplishes it. So therefore, we have nothing but to worry about something that's negative. We don't have to worry about Chet when it comes to Rosh Hashanah. And that's why we can be Besimcha. And not just Besimcha on Rosh Hashanah, but we can be Besimcha during the Aseres Yemay Teshuvah. Valpiza muva nech shayech afilu shemei chol. Shebein Rosh Hashanah Kippurim yu k'moyim Chol Hamo'ed. Shemei Chol Hamo'ed hem yemei simcha. Al kol ponim k'may simcha shemei Rosh Hashanah. At least on that level. The kivin shakadosh baruch hu salach u'machal v'kippur al inyanim bilti ritzuim kvar merev Rosh Hashanah ba'ofen shetichle shonim kol inyanim bilti ritzuim. Chazal say that when it comes the end of the year, we say the year should be finished with all of its, the lush, the Chazal says in Klal Yisrael. The Rebbe doesn't want to bring down the lush of Klal Yisrael. And then the Chazal say, v'tachel shano b'chesel. So in other words, we're done with anything negative. All of that is erased. Bracha Roshona that we're saying Rosh Hashana, the Eibishter, is beginning the brachas for the new year. What's the first bracha that Hashem gives for us? Sha'akadosh Baruch Hu mevarech u'matzliach b'limud ha'Torah v'kiyum ha'mitzvos. And the Rebbe is going to bring this from something else where we see that Hashem helps us and gives us the koyach to be able to do Torah mitzvos. We all know that there's a Maimer Chazal that says, Hakol b'dei Shamayim chutz m'yir Shamayim. Everything is in the hands of Hashem, except for if we're going to do Torah mitzvahs. That's true as far as Bechira. But we have freedom of choice. We have freedom of choice to do what's right or not do what's right. Everything else, whether I will get a new car or an old car, whether I won't get an accident or chas v'shalom the opposite, that's not up to me. But when it comes to Torah mitzvahs, that's up to me. But even though it's up to me, that doesn't mean that Hashem can't help me. And that doesn't mean that Hashem won't give me brachas in inyanim of Torah mitzvahs. It says, Hashem judges the elikus of Yankov, the spiritual Torah mitzvahs of Yaakov to help us out in Torah mitzvahs. That's a very strange expression. Why does it say it's a bracha that you will listen? Asher tishmu. You will get a bracha if you will listen. What does it mean you will get a bracha, or the bracha is that you will listen? That the bracha will come on the condition that you listen. So why does it say, Es ha-bracha asher tishmu? It comes out that Hashem's bracha is that you will listen. That's taka one of the brachas. Hashem helps us, and Hashem gives us a bracha that we will do Torah mitzvahs. He helps us out. That we listen to Hashem. Asher tishmu, misnagim kertzoin haboire. V'hainu, she'af al pi shahakol b'dei Shamayim chutz m'yir Shamayim, mikol mochem tzarech levakish gam al yir Shamayim. We can daven to Hashem and tell Him, you know, I'm having difficulty. I'm having difficulty in Torah mitzvahs. I have a struggle, I have a challenge. Whether it's in one inyan or in a lot of inyanim. Help me out, Hashem. We don't say, don't mix in. Because if you look in davening, there's a lot of parts of davening that we say, and help us out, and so on. Part of our bakashas to Hashem is to ask Him to help us out in Torah mitzvahs. V'abakosha matzlicho peyelos chuluk mevur b'chud Torah pirish mashakasav miyitin v'hoyel avav zem lahem liyira. So the Alter Rebbe explains that Hashem Taka helps him out. And since we know that this is part of the bracha that Hashem gives us for the new year, so we don't have to be sad during Aseres Yemay Teshuvah. Azai afilu hayom sheben Rosh Hashana Yom Kippurim hen k'may Chol Hamo'ed shebo yesh ne'achiv v'samachta b'chagecha b'dugmas hayom tov shebo yimatzcha Chol Hamo'ed. Just like a Chol Hamo'ed, you have to be happy, similar to the day before Chol Hamo'ed, the day of Yom Tov. Val derech zel b'negel Simcha shebiyamim Elul v'Aseres Yemay Teshuvah, you should have at least the Simcha al Koponim by from the Gila Barada, similar to the Simcha that you have on Rosh Hashana. So now the Rebbe is going to say, but hold on. During Chol Hamo'ed, during the Aseres Yemay Teshuvah, we do say things that we don't say on Rosh Hashana. We say Tachanun. We say Avinu Malkeinu Chaton Lefanecha. If we just now said that Aseres Yemay Teshuvah is like Chol Hamo'ed, then we're supposed to be happy at least Begilu Berada. So why do we say Tachanun? Let it be like Rosh Hashana, where we don't say anything negative, where we don't mention Chet, and we don't say Avinu Malkeinu Chaton Lefanecha, and for sure we don't say Hashamnu Bagadnu and all of that. Ach tzarich lahav madu amrim Tachanun b'shivas yom shemein Rosh Hashana Yom Kippurim the lechura ma'achar shem k'may Chol Hamo'ed azayin mokum lamiris Tachanun v'abir bezem du amevor b'negel l'lashon slach lan avinu ki chatan the lechura masim yoyser alashon al asher chatan v'chiyoytze b'zeh. Because we sinned, you have to forgive us. Because we sinned, is a reason not to forgive us. We're asking forgiveness since we sinned. Allah shechatanu. Not because. So the answer for it is, what's the explanation? Why does it say ki? It says, Shezeu lefish b'mamadei matzavei lifnei shemen esrei ein etzli inyan shel Chet. A yid, by the time he comes to shemen esrei, he's already finished with his sins. It says, ein oimdim lispalal matach kavod rosh. Before davening, a person already takes in consideration and knows what's going on, and if he can't do it in the morning, so that's why he has Krishna Shalom Mita. He already said the vidu in Hashem Bagadnu Krishna Shalom Mita. So by the time he comes to davening, by the time he comes to Shemin Esrei, he doesn't have any Chet. So what's going on? V'davke ba'amdoi lispal Shemin Esrei she'oz mis'al l'dargin na'alas Yosef. And now he's ka'avda kama moreh, like a servant in front of his master. Azai toifes es atzmoi umargish shemamadei matzavi lifneze biyoyse b'shas amiris krishma ubirchas krishma shalofnei alachareh v'alachas kam v'kam b'sukkah de zimra u'abchinas mechvei b'macha kam malka. It's like someone making a signal in front of the king, which is not respectful. Kivin sheb'shemen esrei oimet kvar kam malka. He's standing in front of the king. He didn't have any sins before, but now when he is on a higher level, so now all of a sudden he realizes that he is in a level that's missing, that's lacking, that's not the way it's supposed to be. That's the explanation of Tachanun now during Aseres Yemay Teshuvah. It's not Chet in a way of a normal sin. That we don't have. That was taken care of already out of Rosh Hashana. And that Hashem already benched us on Rosh Hashana, that we should have a year of Torah and Mitzvos. So we don't have to worry of a real sin. But rather, al derech zo b'negel lamiris Tachanun b'yom shebein Rosh Hashana Yom Kippurim, shezeu b'negel in yonim ke'elu, she'ad ata, koidim she'egiel l'maymed u'matzav ha'yoser na'ala, ha'ya yachol v'tzarech l'isnaig ba'oifen kazeh. What does that mean? So he's going to give actually a very simple example based on the famous mashal that's always brought down, Melech Basad. One of the things that it says about the mashal of Melech Basad is what happens after the people greet the king in the field. The Alter Rebbe says, afterwards, the people follow the king into the city and follow him into Heichal Malchusah. So the Rebbe is going to point out, as great and as wonderful as they are in the field, the way a person acts and is dressed in the field, that's not the way you're supposed to act in Heichal Malchusah. Let's see it inside. Benegay leklolos hamayim the matzah of chodesh el v'chodesh tishrei. B'chodesh el she'oz nimtzayim b'nei Yisrael b'sadeh v'sham nifgashim im melech malchem lach makadosh baruch hu kvi shemavai Rabbeinu Azaken minyan shechodesh el api mashal melech shemekavim bara b'sadeh. Azai loivshim levushim shemasimim la'avodas hasadeh. You wear farmer clothes, you wear dungarees, you wear jeans. That's the type of clothes you wear in the field. Va'adrab, not only can you wear such clothes, the Rebbe is going to say, Al Pi Shulchan Aruch, you're not allowed to wear a suit when you're working in the field. Al Pi Din Shulchan Aruch, Mitzad Ha'inyan Shel Bal Tashchis, you're not allowed to destroy anything of value. Ein lilveish levushim yikarim b'shasha aiskim avodas hasadeh. Kiyedu hasipur oidus abachilki. There's a story in Gemara about abachilki. Ech shoymer es levushi b'shasha oilach lavid basadeh. You would think abachilki, he was a big amoyra, he was a big Talmud Chacham. He's thinking about his clothes, but there's a din about tashchis. You're not supposed to destroy something that's good. So you're not supposed to ruin your clothes. So therefore, in the field, you wear clothes that are supposed to be used for field work. You can't act, you can't talk, you can't walk, not in the same way how you were when you were talking and walking and dressed in the field. In the month of Elul was fine. Elul yesh tzoyrech ba'aliyah mechayil al choyil behesam l'maymed u'matzav shel chodesh tishrei v'alachs kam v'kam b'cholas tishrei b'rosh Hashanah v'yom shel achar ze ad Yom Kippur u'be'oifen kezeh hi gam avodas hatshuvah b'yomim elu lo yitshuva al dvarim bilter etzuyim, because we said already nothing negative is going on anymore. Now began the Bracha for Torah and Mitzvos, and he was already forgiven for anything that took place last year. What's the tshuva going up from the weekday clothes, from the farmer's clothes of Elul to the clothes of Tishrei? Al tshuva inyan halicha mechayil al choyil b'kedusha v'toiv gufa va'ad v'ruach tashva l'kim asher nesana, which is the ultimate level of tshuva about going up to the highest level in returning to Hashem and becoming close to Hashem, ki mevur b'chutei Torah parts HaShavua. Move on. Shebeyachadim zeh shemizboide the moise b'limrat Torah avoid zatfilo behider b'kiyam ha-mitzvos oimed hu b'maymed ha-matzav shekol ha-inyonim chadurim etzloi b'simcha gedoylo v'nifla. The additional Torah that he's learning in Aseres Yemay Teshuvah, the additional davening, the additional mitzvahs, everything that he's doing in Aseres Yemay Teshuvah, because of Aseres Yemay Teshuvah, he's doing it with unbelievable simcha. Like we said before, there's still trembling involved. Beglal, why is he so happy? He's so happy, he's now in the king's own palace. Kivin shekvar hichtiras hamelach tamlechuni aleichem emei Rosh Hashanah umiskoinen lachtaras hamelach bepnimius kemevur b'chutei Torah shem kippurim nikra gam Rosh Hashanah. That there's a pasuk in Yecheskel that shows that the pasuk calls Rosh Hashanah, calls Yom Kippurim Rosh Hashanah. Why is it also called Rosh Hashanah? Because Yom Kippur is like a continuation of the Achtaras HaMelech that we did on Rosh Hashanah. We continue it on Yom Kippur. It's an inner level of the Achtarah. Hapnimius Yemay Rosh Hashanah. Pnimius HaRosh l'gabe inyan HaRosh k'fi shu b'Rosh Hashanah k'mevur pri Etz Chaim. It's brought on Kabbalah about this. So therefore, he's this whole period of time of the Aseres Yemay Teshuvah. It's all about Achtaras HaMelech. So he's inside Heichel Malchusay. So he's in the state of Simcha Nifla. V'lechein malvad ma shehoitziv l'gabe ma'amodim atzavi be'el. Mitzad ma'amodim atzavi be'Rosh Hashanah. He doesn't just stop and say, okay, Rosh Hashanah is done, I reached my peak. No. Now he goes up further. Harei u'moisiv v'oyle mechayil al-choyil gam b'yom shebein time. Yimei ha'achana l'mayim d'matzav sh'metzad ha'pnimi shel Rosh Hashanah b'yoyisiv b'tuach shohilach b'yachad d'melech malchei amlachim ha'kadosh baruch hu medarga l'darga. Ad l'ne'ilah shem ha'kippurim. Even further, v'ad lo yishan rabbo shmini atzeres b'mayim d'matzav she'yisrael u'malchei b'chudoy. It says the time of shmini atzeres, the Yidden and the king are all alone, no one else is with them. Kivisha Shneim, Oimdim, Ba'oisem, Maim, the Matzav, Hashem, and the Yidden, Kiviyachol, Bedugmas, Teres, Harava, Magid, Be'inyan, Shtei, Chatzoitzris, Kesef. It says that Moshe Rabbeinu had 2 silver trumpets. So the Mezritcher Magid divides the word Chatzoitzris into 2 words, Chatzoitzuris. Shebnei Yisrael, V'HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shtei Chatzoitzuris. Shebetzir of Shneim Yachad, Nasa Davar Shalom. So that's how united, and that's what we're going through now, and why it's so joyous and so happy, because we're all going higher and higher. It's not about negative things. It's only about joy from going higher and closer to Hashem. And now the Rebbe is going to take the same idea and bring this l'gaba Yahrtzeit, Vav Tishrei, the Yahrtzeit of his mother. The Inyan Zeh, Shaykh Gam L'Yom Hashana Yahrtzeit, the Kivin Shebekodshim Halayla Hoylach HaChayim, Shaykh Layla Zeh L'Yom Shalafanav. Even though, generally, in Yiddishkeit, we know the day follows the night. That's why Yom Tov and Shabbos and so on starts from the night before. There's one exception to this. When it comes to korbanos, and we say that a korban is eaten, let's say, l'layla v'yoyim, or l'shnei yamim v'layla echad. It's not the night before, it's the night after the day. So when it comes to kachim, the night goes after the day. So the Rebbe is saying, even though we're fabrengging now, the night after Vav Tishrei, but since kachim, in matters of kachim, it goes the night after, so therefore it's like we're still in Vav Tishrei, the Rebbe is saying. The Chol Yahrtzeit Oila Neshama Ladargen Nailas Yoisa Shaloi Be'erach. V'hain. Shemol Vad Haliyah V'dei Yoim B'yoim. The Neshama has a daily aliyah. In Gan Eden, the Neshama goes up day after day. In the B'yoim Hashana and the Yahrtzeit Oila Neshama Be'ilu Shaloi Be'erach. Then what it goes up every single day of the year. V'lachein Lamrois Shaleimus Maimed HaMatzvah Neshama Lefi Erach HaOilam. Shabai Hoisa Adatam. In the mitzad aliyasa la'olam naila yoser, nidreshes mimana shleimus g'doyla yoser. So what can the neshama do? The neshama can't really do much. So we do things for the neshama down here. Like Kaddish, for example, davening for the Amid and so on. Mashlimim gam shleimazu, that the neshama helps the neshama to go up in this aliyah shaloi ba'erach on the day of the Yahrtzeit. ובהסם לקח, יש גם בייז איפני הנהוגה בנגיע ליארצייט, כשם שיש בייז איפני הנהוגה בנגיע לעשרת ימי תשובה. יש הנהוגה בעשרת ימי תשובה אצל כמה בני ישראל, מיוסד על מה שכתוב בשולחן ערוך ובספרי מוסר וכולו, באופן של מרירס וכולו. Some people, when it comes to Aseres Yemay Teshuvah, they get extremely serious and they have basis for this in Shulchan Aruch, like we said, there's slichas and different things. The yesh gam oifen anhag hamasim lekach sheyom elim k'may Chol Hamo'ed, that we act in a way of simcha. So the Rebbe says, just like in Aseres Yemay Teshuvah, page 9, just like in Aseres Yemay Teshuvah, there's both. Just like in a Yahrtzeit, there's both things. So just like in Aseres Yemay Teshuvah, there's both ways. 2 approaches that you didn't have, the same thing at Yahrtzeit. Valderach says she has gam be Yahrtzeit bezei fani anhage. Im beofen shon brides hepcha simcha lagamri, ela hepech beloshna yidu et chassid poilum tikun. They give a lachayim, they fabring, whatever. So some people have a minhag to fast on a Yahrtzeit. So it's like 2 extremes. Because just like Aseres Yemay Teshuvah, there's 2 ways of looking at Aseres Yemay Teshuvah. So too on a Yahrtzeit, there's 2 ways of looking at it. V'afal pikein, ein ze bestira leminagenu shebi Yahrtzeit oimrim Tachanun. In other communities, even in let's say by Polish Chassidim, whenever it comes to a Yahrtzeit of a tzaddik, they don't say Tachanun. By us, we do say Tachanun. If we just now said that a Yahrtzeit has this great aliyah of the neshama and it's a big simcha and that's why they say l'chaim and so on, so why do we say Tachanun? So the Rebbe says, the Rebbe relates, I told this over already, the story, I asked my father-in-law, I asked the Friedrich Rebbe, we call it Yom Hilula. Hilula means l'chasana. So if it's like a chasna, why do we say Tachanun? The Amman, the Friedrich Rebbe said, "V'chiyesh man toiv yoyser levakish v'lifol oisbetnes ein yonim shmevakish metachnun v'hainu sha'amiras atachnun mitzad simcha mitzad aliyah v'haydei ze poilim es kol ein yonim shoyim betachnun." So again, it's not a negative Tachanun, but it's like Tachanun that we say during Aseres Yemay Teshuvah because we're going up higher, and because we're going up higher, we have to become closer and refine ourselves more. And then the Rebbe concludes with a bracha v'yiratzim shayisafa b'limrat Torah hidur b'kim ha'mitzvos avoyis atfilah b'chol ha'shayach lazeh u'b'loshen asher b'sidar arizal eisek ha'Torah v'atshuvah v'izbodedus sha'pirush ha'poshet b'zeh hu izbodedus min inyan ha'olam from Welt and Weltlichkeit, being removed not just from the physical world but from worldly approaches. B'yom shebein Rosh Hashana and Kippurim shem k'moy Chol Hamo'ed Tia matech simcha, simcha al pi Torah ba'ofen de gilu berada. Val pia amr kama pa'amim she simcha precedes geder. It breaks through any barriers, any boundaries. Hine afilu etzel elu she ma'ezah sibir she tia yeshna inyan adayin geder sh'tzarech lifrit zaysay. People have these challenges, they have these limitations. They feel blocked. They feel like they have something standing in their way. Hine aidei simcha zu yifritzu v'yivatlos ha'gedorim ha'achroinim shnishra adayin v'yavoyu l'merchav ha'amiti k'fitchu l'mayla v'yamshichu merchav zakam l'matam asarat tvachim v'ad she'yikuyim ha'yud prozes teishu Yerushalayim, that Yerushalayim also will be an open city because it doesn't have to be worried about any enemies. The karav mamish u'ba'gol didam.